Let's get into the craziest theories for the Legends Festival 2025. Starting with this one that inspired this video. Number 1. Super Gogeta is already confirmed. This comes from a Japanese Twitter user called Dragon_CH. They say, the title logo's effect is so Soul Punisher that it's insanely awesome. Is this the arrival of LL Fusion Super Gogeta? Of course, we should presume the translation isn't 100% correct, but at the start of the trailer, you see the little digital effects behind the Dragon Ball Legends logo, and it's using rainbow colors, similar to Stardust Breaker, which Super Gogeta uses. In fact, it's the exact move that he used to defeat Super Janemba. If you want to take it a step further, the aura behind the Dragon Ball Legends logo and the sparkles there also match up with Super Gogeta's aura, as we all saw in the Fusion Reborn movie. Honestly, this one was too good to not include in this video. This one is definitely convincing me that Super Gogeta is going to arrive, but at the same time, it's not much, so I don't think it's ridiculous to call it crazy. But damn, the more I stare at it, the more I look at it, it does make me think that we are going to get a Legends Limited Super Gogeta for the part 1 of the 2025 Legends Festival. The logo color scaling. If we go back to previous Legends festivals as far as 2022, you will see that the color of the logo when they reveal it, and they always reveal the logo prior to the festival actually starting, always correlates to the part 1 unit, at least one of them, assuming there's 2. So let's start with the Legends Festival 2022, because it was the first logo to have a number on it that does change color. So in 2021, it was just the same color as the Legends Festival logo where we always have it yellow, but then from 2022 they started changing the color, and only because we have this in hindsight does this theory actually hold up. So in 2022 the logo turned to a very strong orange, and it being orange is symbolic of the Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegeta, the Tag 4s, the part 1 headliner of that festival. Their aura, when they charge up, they have a very bright orange aura. Might feel like a bit of a stretch, but let's move on to 2023. In 2023 we can see that the logo is purple. It's a very distinct purple. It's not even negotiable. It's very evidently purple. And that obviously relates to the Beast Gohan that we got in part 1. His whole attire is purple. You could maybe make the case that it's closer to a blue, but at the bare minimum it's somewhere in between. And having the logo directly match that color scheme, I think we're getting warmer here. So let's move on now to 2024, the last year's Dragon Ball Legends Festival, where we get the very obvious blue logo. Now that we have this blue logo, I think you guys can see better that the 2023 logo was definitely purple, closer to Beast Gohan's attire, but with the 2024 logo being blue, we know that correlates to Legends Limited Vegito Blue. The transforming unit, side note, everybody wanted a synchro, so it's unfortunate we got a transforming unit, but we'll take it. But it should go without saying, because he goes blue, the logo is also blue. So if we look at 2025, we have a logo that I would say is a mix of red, orange, and yellow. It's like a blend. So at the top it's more red, and at the bottom it's more yellow. It would only be fair to assume that the logo implies something about the part 1 unit or units. With that being the case, if you had to ask me, the biggest contenders would be Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, maybe a synchro unit, God Goku, so he would power down, but not necessarily power down into Super Saiyan, from Super Saiyan God obviously, and Super Gogeta. But there's also the idea that there's 2 colors to mean 2 things, so it could be both units being used as a representation of the logo. Let me know what unit you think would match for this theory right here. The year of every saga. Throughout this year 2025, Dragon Ball Legends have put out the most variety that they have ever put out in one single year. It's almost as if they are trying to drop one unit from every single tag / saga available in Dragon Ball Legends. So what if they are? I spoke about this earlier in the year, but the closer we get to the end of the year, I do really think it's more plausible. There's only very few tags that we haven't got anything from this year, and I'm mainly talking new releases. If we include Zenkai's platinum equipments, then we'll really see that they've been filling out the boxes. But just starting with the first half of the year, they dropped a bunch of Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball OG to kind of get it out the way. Not literally, but it seems like they were ticking off a list, and they started with the earlier half of the series. Not in totality, because we got units like Legends Limited Fusion Zamasu, as well as the Diamond units which we got right before the anniversary. anniversary. So they were mixing in Future here and there, but heavily Dragon Ball Z in the first half of the year and through the anniversary. And since the anniversary has ended, I feel like the Dragon Ball Super stuff has kicked it up a notch just a bit, as well as other arcs that we haven't got at all, which would be sagas from the movies, bringing up the likes of Kefla, Fusion 13, Half Corrupted Zamasu, and Metal Cooler. We also got some GT, which we hadn't got earlier this year, with Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta and Super Saiyan 3 Goku. But let's use the Dragon Ball Legends labels regarding the episode as a metric for what they need to do left. Here's what we got left. If we don't include any Zenkais, returns, or platinum equipments, we're only missing Game Originals, Majin Buu Saga, Black Star Dragon Ball Saga, Super 17 Saga, God of Destruction Beerus Saga, Frieza Resurrected Saga, God of Destruction Champa Saga, and anime original sagas. I don't think it's fair to include Dragon Ball FighterZ and Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, even though they did return Kakarot and they did return the Android 21s. There's obviously no guarantee that they will drop every single saga this year, and there's not many releases left, but what I will say is, if you do include platinum equipments, Zenkais, and returns, a lot more of these boxes get ticked out very fast, and I think the developers did that with intention, almost as if it was their objective in 2025. Ultra in Part 1 theory. Under normal circumstances, this wouldn't be possible, and they've dropped a bunch of Ultras, 2 after the 7th anniversary, but it's a lot considering they dropped 2 Ultras in the 7th anniversary. But a big reason to push this idea is that we're getting a Limit Break banner prior to the Festival 2025. Now, typically, they only drop Limit Break banners if they're going to drop an Ultra, but we also do get Limit Break banners if there's going to be a celebration upcoming. But what makes this different from normal times is that because of the 7th anniversary, where we got 2 Ultras, we also saw they put a sparking on the banner, that being Krillin. So in the reveals and stuff, or Legends information, they usually say character info, and that implies we're going to be getting multiple characters. But if they put a sparking, a new one, on the Ultra banner, they would still have multiple character infos to go through in the Legends information. So we would get an Ultra character who would be the biggest rarity thing, the hypest thing, but we still would also get a sparking. And based on the amount of Ultras we've got post 7th anniversary, and the fact that they said they're not going to consistently drop 2 Ultras, this would put the Festival 2025 in reverse order. So we would start with 1 Ultra and then lead into Part 2 of 2 Legends Limited and Part 3 of 2 Legends Limited. There's also the idea that a lot of people had for the 7th anniversary prior to the leak happening, where people expected them to remake the 1st anniversary, so we would have 1 Ultra on 2 separate banners, but there's also 2 different Legends Limited. In the Part 1 anniversary, we had just Legends Limited Super Vegito. Obviously Ultras didn't exist, but they put 2 different sparkings on each of the banners. We had Super Saiyan Blue Goku, Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta, Buhan, and Golden Frieza. But in this case, we would have 1 Ultra on both sides, 2 different Legends Limited, and that would pretty much be it, and maybe a sparking even on both sides. Obviously the Legends Limited and sparkings would be different for both banners, but the Ultra would be the same on each banner. This one definitely sounds crazy to me, and it's not one that I'm backing, but it's also not impossible considering they've mixed things up throughout the years. That's going to be it for this video. Let me know what you guys think about these theories, and comment down below if you have any of your own crazy theories for what could happen in the 2025 Legends Festival. Building up a lot of hype, so I'm trying to push the content. If you have any ideas or things that you want me to post, let me know in the comment section. But hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you haven't already, make sure to press the subscribe button. We're on this grind to 200,000 subscribers. I appreciate you guys for watching, man. My name is Zakashi, guys, and I will see you guys in the next one, man.